if a record can make you happy or break your heart, then you know it's really good. That's what iconic music producer, Winnipeg-born Bob Rock tries to do. He loves making records and he loves music. Top-of-the-chart musicians are eager to work with him as he is a Grammy Award-winning music man who has collaborated with everyone from Motley Crue and Bryan Adams to Michael Bublé and Metallica. When he was a titch younger, he traded in his hockey stick for a guitar, formed a band, and well, the rest is rock history. It is my pleasure to welcome Bob Rock back to Vancouver.
Hi, Fanny. It's good to be here.
You look like a record producer.
And dude, you look like a lady.
I ain't no lady. But you're a record producer.
Apparently,
of
I am.
great
That's what I'm
renown.
told. Well, yeah. I'm a lucky guy, let's put it that way. I make records for a living.
And to think you could have been skating, playing for New York or something.
Not so much New York. Maybe the Canucks. That would
Okay.
be good. That would be
Okay.
good. Yeah. But that was a good part of my life, growing up in Winnipeg, playing hockey. But when I saw the Beatles and the Stones on Ed Sullivan, I just that changed it all.
Where were you when you first saw the Beatles?
Actually, my mother took my sisters and I to the airport when the Beatles landed in Winnipeg before going to New York. So I kind of saw them the first time they landed in North America.
That's
Oddly enough.
incredible.
She had a friend that worked at Air Canada.
Right.
So we're going to see the Beatles. She got us all. We went to the airport and waved to the Beatles.
I saw them in a college dormitory in the basement in black and white or on black and white television.
Oh, wow.
We were pretty gobsmacked, I have to say.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. But
Do you think
also,
in your lifetime
Yeah.
you'll see another band like the Beatles?
I think maybe now it's impossible to have that kind of impact because back then there was so much mystery involved with who they were and where they came from. They were almost foreign, the way they looked. Mm-hmm. Their music, it was just, it had so much to do with the culture. They changed culture. And I think these days to have that much impact is very difficult because we have so many things available to us. It's so fast, etc.
In a YouTube world, in a
Yeah,
downloaded world.
it's like, I grew up, during the 60s. I was born in 54. My childhood was 60s with the Beatles and the Stones, Led Zeppelin, all that. I remember growing up in Winnipeg and in Victoria and then Vancouver, there was so much. I bought the magazines, we stared at album covers. There was so much mystery. We thought these guys were just from another world, and it was very inspiring for me. Now we get that instantaneous.
Yes.
So it's almost like the feeling is instantaneous as well. So it doesn't linger with you. There's maybe not so much depth.
And you think of the influences, Led Zeppelin, obviously influenced by the blues.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I learned about the blues through Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, and Eric Clapton. That's where I started with them and then went back because they showed me where it came from. Growing up in Canada, that's how I did it.
And let's not forget the payolas.
Let's not forget the payolas. Never forget the payolas.
So tell me about the payolas.
My high school friend, Paul Hyde, we went to high school, finished off high school, supposedly. And basically our friendship was based around the love of music, especially English music, a lot of the English bands at the time. So Paul and I learned to, I guess, write music. What happened, Vancouver became a very big town for punk music in the late 70s. I was working at Little Mountain. I started in 76. And when punk rock came around and hit Vancouver, it gave Paul and I an opportunity, because we weren't the best musicians at the time, to actually get up and play our songs, original songs. So it's just very important for me, a key to kind of my life in music.
No stranger to danger.
No stranger to danger, that's us.
I read a quote in the paper from Chris Body, who said, you have to be a little crazy to be a musician. Very, very solitary kind of life, constantly moving, strange life, really. He says, have to be all in, and it may never happen for you. You forgo the family, the dog, the plant, and the cat, and you take a lot of risks. You agree?
Well, I think there is that aspect of it, and it's a commitment. There's no question. But what I find, like I live in actually Maui right now, and my life in Maui is very different than what you would consider a rock producer life. I have a barn. I clean the barn. I have a truck that most people would be embarrassed to drive. But to me, that's the balance to the world of music and where I live. So I find that's a good thing. I actually think that's a great thing to get away from music. It's a good perspective.
Okay, and when the stars drop in on you, and I hear they do, to the Plantation studio,
Yeah.
who doesn't come to you? Metallica?
Well, no, they've been there.
They've been there.
Yeah. I mean, people love to come to Hawaii, obviously. But like I said, where I live and where other people like Willie and even Chris Christopherson, we were talking about Chris, it's the other side of the island. It's not so much you're not lounging on the beach drinking cocktails.
Right.
It's more about like life. It's kind of a small town.
So when you work with a band like Metallica, heavy metal,
Yeah.
is that right? Heavy metal.
Yeah.
You throw a cello in or something. You're producing them, right? And you say, hey, boys, how about a cello or a violin?
Well, the thing with Metallica, I think my involvement with them was one of sonics because I came from an engineering background, so to speak, but also songs. And so I can, work with Metallica and I can go to Jan Arden or Michael Bublé or Bryan Adams or all sorts of different guys. Or like tomorrow, I'm going to London to work with Van Morrison. Now you might
And
go
I'm
like,
coming
how
along.
can you do this? I just work with Sarah.
Did you miss that? And I'm coming along.
Oh yes, of course you are.
Of course I am. Okay.
But it's about songs to me and making records. So it doesn't matter whether it's Metallica or Michael singing in front of 60-piece orchestra. It's still music, it's still songs, it's about a feeling, it's about making that magic that people listen to. So.
And how do you know when the magic happens? What's the feeling? You're in the studio with Michael Bublé, winning a Grammy eventually for his latest album.
That was an amazing thing for me to win the quite an honor. But really, I do it for that moment. With Michael, it's particularly great because those moments happen a lot because of the music he does and because of the way he approaches recording, which is live. So he sings with the band. So it's all encompassing. You hear the whole sound. And that was a return for me to kind of where I came from earlier on when we used to record everybody live in the late 70s, right?
Right.
Then we got into this area of overdubbing and all these different kind of styles of production. Michael brought me back to kind of where I was in the way he makes records. So it's really great. It's really exciting.
So when you work with the Bublé genius, and he sings a Sinatra song,
Yeah.
and it sounds too Sinatra. Come Fly With Me or something like that. And he doesn't sound like Bublé. I don't know if this happens. I'm guessing. Probably doesn't anymore, but there must be a time when you hear the authenticity in an artist.
Well, I think,
And you don't?
much like so many musicians that I've met through the years, we all have influences. Michael's influencers are different than a lot of rock musicians. Like when, we do a song, a Sinatra song or a Dean Martin song, Michael knows that song. He knows who arranged all the versions of it, where they're all recorded. He knows the history. That's where he comes from. It's actually brilliant. He taught me that he knows he's got the background to it all. So he could cop it all, but he doesn't. He owns it. That's how he owns the song. I think that's what makes Michael when he does that. He does give it his own.
When you work with Jan Arden and she sings Que Sera, Sera,
Yes.
which I recall was once sung by Doris Day.
Yes, we do love Doris Day.
We do. But what a different treatment that is. Has to be. Now you're the producer, right?
Well, yeah, I think when it gets into just copying arrangements and kind of other records, that's nostalgia. I think with Jan, when I did the cover records, we tried to give it a new twist. We tried to make a new record, so it had to have a different sound. to make it original, so to speak.
When you listen to Paul McCartney sing jazz,
Yeah.
what runs through your mind being a Beatles fan?
What I like about that is that he's been adventurous and he's not nostalgic. He's daring, even at the age that he is. He's still learning about it. I think music is a journey. It is for me, and I continue every day to learn new things. And I just think where he's at now is a great place. He's still inspired by music, whether it's jazz, whether it's country. So I say go for it, Paul. Sir Paul. Met him. It was great.
You met him?
At a studio in Los Angeles. I was playing guitar out in the hallway, and he came out of the studio and he says, "That's a hit." And then I said, "Thank you. You're Paul." He says, "I am," and we shook hands. It was great.
And did he say you're Bob?
No, he didn't know. He didn't know me, but no, it's great.
But it's okay.
It's
because
okay.
you seem to know everybody else in the music business.
I'm a lucky
all the
guy.
top dogs,
Well,
the dogettes.
Yeah. I get around.
Bob Rock, our guest, will return.
Welcome to my